This is one of the only cases of demonic possession that went to court. This young girl who lived in Germany, Anneliese Michael. She was raised Catholic. She was described as really nice and likable. When she was 16 years old in 1968, she experienced her first episode where she completely lost consciousness. Later that night, she woke up and she was having a kind of sleep paralysis where she felt like something was pressing down on her chest. 11 months later, a similar experience occurred again. At that point, her mom is starting to get worried. They took her to a family doctor. They did an EEG, a brain scan, she had a neurologist, and they couldn't find anything wrong. They said that maybe it could be a form of seizure, but they weren't sure. Over the next few years, she had other similar episodes. At that point, they prescribed her an anti-seizure medication and anticonvulsant medication. And they did brain scans each time she had this episode, and everything would come back normal. But things got worse in 1973. Anneliese began to hear knocking sounds in her bedroom. If you're any part of the spiritual or paranormal, a lot of people believe that knocking is a form of mocking the Holy Trinity. Now, she wasn't crazy or delusional hearing these sounds. Her sisters heard them as well. But Anneliese also reported hearing a voice that was saying she was going to go to hell. Supposedly, her mom walked into her room and found her staring at a statue of the Virgin Mary with her eyes completely black. And she claimed that Annaliese's hands had turned into thick paws with claws. The next time she was taken to the doctor, she described seeing horrific visions of demonic faces and things. She said that she felt that the devil himself was inside of her. Now, this next part is really weird. She would also say that she kept smelling burnt feces, and other people that were around her would claim that that's what she smelled like. After continuously going to the doctor and then finding nothing, the doctor said maybe you guys should see a Jesuit, which is a religious official. But later, that same doctor claimed that he never said that. So the family went in search of a priest and eventually found Father Alt. This video is getting too long, so go to part 2.
I have a story time about when I went for a ghost hunt, right? And on this ghost hunt, I swear to God, I experienced speaking to a little girl who had passed away and something fucking satanic, right? And I'll tell you about this experience. So at the time, it was me and my ex. We went for this ghost hunt, right? And we chose our own equipment, we did all this other shit, and we went into all these rooms and they were like, nothing was happening, right? Nothing was happening at all. And I was like, well, this is fucking bullshit. Like, this is fucking shit. We went into this one room which had a double bed and it had like this fucking mirror on the wall and it like had windows. And I was just speaking. My girlfriend had headphones on, she couldn't hear me. And she had a spirit box, which is just, it loops over like channels, right? Like loads of fucking radio channels and whatever, or like anything, radio frequencies. And like she would basically just say any word that she heard, right? And I was asking these questions, and I swear to God, like I said, like, come and sit down on the bed next to us, because there's two of us on the bed. I was like, there's two of us on the bed, just come and sit next to us, and like we'll have a chat. And my girlfriend who couldn't hear me, like my girlfriend at the time who couldn't hear me, said, there's three. And like the things it was saying was, I swear to God, it was a little girl that was speaking to me who had died like drowning or like something related to water, because it was saying loads of things about like water as well. That was creepy, right? And then this other room we went into, bro, it gives me full body tingles. What happened, right? What happened was we went into this room and it was just a normal room, right? And this fucking thing had to be satanic. This thing had to be a demon. This thing had to be something really, really fucked up, right? Because it was saying like, it was basically saying like anti-Christian, like fucking satanic shit, right? When it's just, all it is a radio frequency looping over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm asking questions, and instantly the second I ask a question, it fucking replies with something like, almost like it wants to kill me, right? And that's my story time. And I still don't know if I believe in ghosts. I don't fucking know about the paranormal, but those experiences I had were fucking weird, man. They were strange. They were fucking freaky. And I would love to do it again, because it's like, I don't know, like it was very, very, very strange. It was a very fucking strange experience. And yeah, I don't know why I wanted to say that. I just wanted to say it. So hopefully that inspires you to do ghost hunts or something. I don't fucking know, but there's a story time, so.
Am I the asshole for locking my nephew out of my room with collectibles inside? Nope. Absolutely. Hell no. No, because I have read way too many horror stories where people's nieces and nephews get into their treasure rooms and absolutely trash thousands of dollars worth of merch. No. Lock his little ass the fuck out. I live alone. 2 weeks ago, my family came over for dinner. My parents, my brother, his wife, and their son, who's 11. I have a separate room where I keep my Lego sets, my Funko figures, and a couple of other collectibles. To some people, it's just plastic. but some of these items are expensive. Some are already discontinued, and I've been collecting them for years. My nephew caught a glimpse of the room out of the corner of his eye and asked if he could take a look. I said yes, but only with me after dinner. The reason is simple. He's not very careful and he doesn't listen to what adults say. Even though I had explicitly ordered him not to, he has previously opened one of my Funko boxes at my house. My brother at the time said that he didn't know any better and was simply interested. You're already not the asshole. One, because this your house. You lock whatever fucking room you want to lock in your house when people come over. If you want to lock every other fucking cabinet in your house and the second and third shelf on the refrigerator, that's your fucking prerogative. Two, homeboy's got a history of not listening and fucking with expensive shit. You goddamn right I'm gonna lock the door every time you come over. Every time I think he might think he's coming over, that door's gonna be locked. I locked the room and I went back to the table. I think my nephew saw that because he got quieter, but he didn't say anything. After dinner, I took him to the room myself. I showed him the figures in my collection. I also gave him a brand new Funko figure that I had just purchased, but I hadn't had a chance to store. I believed that everything was fine. The next day, my brother called and made a huge scene. He said that I had embarrassed his son by closing the door and that I didn't trust a youngster who was almost grown up and that I was more concerned about plastic than the boy's mental health. Damn! That's some dramatic ass. This man is a fucking drama king. I thought I was dramatic. This man's dramatic as fuck. First of all, go back. OP says, and I quote, 2 weeks ago, my family came over for dinner. My parents, my brother, his wife, and their son, who's 11. Nowhere near almost grown up. Nowhere near. This still a baby. He's 11. Let's just get that out the way. Second of all, I don't care about his mental health because I locked the door to a room full of things that mean a lot to me, that are extremely expensive, one of which your son opened after explicitly being told not to. So because I want to protect my investments, that means I must not care about your son's mental health? Mind you, the boy went up to him and was like, hey, can I check out the room? OP didn't just mush the baby in his face, get the fuck out of here. No, he told the baby, they told the baby, yeah, but after dinner and with me. And they did just that. Took the baby into the room, talked to him about the shit, showed them shit, and the baby left the house with something they didn't come in there with because it was given to them. But I don't care about their mental health because I locked the door? That's some dramatic ass shit. I told my brother I didn't forbid him from seeing them. I just wanted to be there because they're my things in my house, and we've had an unpleasant precedence in the past. Now my brother says that I turned an ordinary kid into a criminal, and our relations are a bit tense. So am I the asshole? This man's so fucking dramatic. You turned an ordinary boy into a criminal. Did he steal something? Bring it back. You've got 15 minutes to bring it back or I'm calling the police. If he's a criminal, that means he must have did something. Did he steal something from me? Because how the fuck did I turn your son into a criminal because I locked my door in my house full of my treasures? OP, this is the last time they can come over. They can't come over no more after this. No, OP, you're out. OP, no, baby. No, you're absolutely not the asshole. You are entitled to lock whatever fucking door you want to lock in your house. You lock the door because something has happened in the past and you were trying to avoid it happening again because there was no fucking accountability taken. He doesn't know any better. He was just interested. Not giving 3 fucks about the money that you spent on this product that's now basically fucking worthless. I understand why you would fucking lock your door. In my office, that's where all my treasures are. When anybody comes to my house, my office door is locked. No one even fucking comes upstairs. But because these are my treasures, my office is fucking locked. Listen, baby, like I said, let this be the last time that they come to your house. That dinner 2 weeks ago was the last time that your brother, his wife, and his son will step foot in your house. You will never win this situation. You will always be the asshole in your brother's eyes. Always. His son has already come to your house and fucked with your stuff. He basically told you, boys will be boys. He's young. He doesn't know any better. He was just interested in what you had going on. No accountability. Nobody's paying for anything. He was young. So you know that it's a possibility this can happen again with him coming over now. So you try to take precautions. But now, because you did that, You don't care about his mental health. Now he's turned into a criminal when he was an ordinary boy because you won't allow this 11-year-old that doesn't listen and isn't careful into your room that holds hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of things that are important to you. Yeah, that's definitely the last time they can come over. Don't let these people back in your house.
This family ran over an Appalachian cryptid. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to tell you the full story. So let me back it up a little bit like the car didn't and start at the beginning. So this little incident actually occurred right outside of Tazewell, Virginia, near Lake Cherokee. Because of course. Kaylin and her family were piled in their family SUV, headed to Gatlinburg, and were just passing this area when something ran out in front of the car so fast they couldn't swerve to miss it. It was hairless, skin-colored, and running very fast on all fours. And it was really tall even on all fours because Kaylin said she remembers the spine like being above the hood of the car. It didn't hit it very hard, but like hard enough that there was a chunk of the undercarriage of the SUV missing. And of course, by the time they all collected themselves and got out to check, this thing had ran away. But to this day, no one in that car can explain what they saw. This happened years ago, and anytime they tell anyone, they're like, it was an animal, like, but they all know it wasn't.
We are back with another Paranormal Trini Scary Story, Trini Folklore for you today, and I have a story from someone's grandfather. And I feel like when I get stories from grandparents, it's like real OG experiences they're having. So let's get right into this horror story. Our follower said, "Hi, this is my grandfather's story. Back in the late 60s, he visited a deceased home to read scriptures from a holy book. It is a custom, as you know, for some. This home was in El Dorado. After the board bridge, it is now a steel bridge. He left the home close to midnight after the reading and some old talk with friends. Since his home was walking distance from there, he didn't mind staying late. Little did he know that he would encounter something at the late hour. After he left the home, he used a flambeau to see where he was going, as there was no street lights. He started to cross the wooden bridge, and midway he heard loud footsteps behind him. He turned around and saw a fat woman wearing a long dress and a headpiece, and her footsteps sounded like that of an animal. She looked at him and shouted out, 'Fire tonight,' and laughed scandalously. She then disappeared from the bridge and reappeared at the bottom of the bridge. He continued walking, saying his prayers until he got home. He was shocked but thankful that nothing happened. We believe prayers and strong faith helped him that night." So if there's one thing I've noticed is that, especially in Guyanese belief as well, if you cross water, spirit can't cross water. So they cannot follow you across a bridge or across a river. So let me know, what do you all think this was? It's very unusual because she said it was a fat woman with a headpiece and a dress outfit, whereas usually you would hear something like a Lajablas being a beautiful, voluptuous or slender woman with, a beautiful outfit from the early 1800s. So let me know, what do you think this grandfather would have encountered?
Good morning. I believe in ghosts, and I don't know how anyone really doesn't with all of the irrefutable evidence out in the world. But anyway, we were having this discussion last night at dinner, and I was explaining to my cousin, I was like, I had a medium once tell me that there's a spirit who's with me all the time, and she kind of fucks with me, and that I should know what she's talking about. And I did. There have been so many instances in my life where I've been like, the lights have gone off at weird times. And I was telling her about one a couple weeks ago where I was explaining this thing, and someone else had a similar experience. And as we were talking about our shared experience, the lights go off. 5 minutes later, the lights go on. We're like, oh my God, it's crazy. So anyway, I'm telling them this story. And as I am saying it, this necklace that I wear every day, that every time I put it on, I tug to make sure, because my girlfriend gave it to me. It's very special. If I lost it, I would cry for ages. It falls off. It falls off into my shirt. The clasp, not broken, nothing broken. Fully intact, falls off into my shirt. And you don't believe in ghosts? I'm sorry, who did that? Who did that? Who did that? A ghost.
I've only saw what I believe was genuinely a ghost once, and that was like 3 years ago. Regardless of what you believe, like, I saw this and I was with someone else who saw it as well. Traditionally, people speak about ghosts, they're like a Victorian lady standing at the top of a staircase, right? But this is the God's honest truth. Me and this other person were driving in a car. It's down a country road at the back of where I live, so there's like a big main road that we normally take. For whatever reason, we were going down this country road. It's a nightmare, it's pitch black, and it's just a pest. And as we're driving, we're listening to music and we're talking, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing's even creepy. And then all of a sudden, like a boy, like a teenage boy, appears and he crosses the road. But I am not joking when I say this, right? Like, this is psychosis level of insanity. He wasn't like fully formed. He was like legs, and then you could make out his head. You could, maybe he was wearing dark clothes, you could say, right? But he had on like grey joggers. This was not Victorian. This was like a modern day teenager, partially formed, crossing the road. So naturally the person who's driving like slows down. In fact, almost slams on the brakes, like proper slows this car down, right? And the two is just like, we're looking at each other at this point. We were like, what the fuck? Because this person just disappeared. And at the side of the road, both sides, there was hedging. So if this was a real person, they would have been cut to bits going through this hedge. Not impossible, but it was just so unlikely. And the fact, like, yeah, it was dark, but the high beams were on in the car. Do you know what I mean? So it just was so strange. I've never been able to explain it. And it's just, I'm convinced that this was not like a real person.
If there's one place in Gettysburg that gives people the chills, it's Devil's Den. Just gonna give you a little bit of history, and then we're gonna go up and we're gonna walk the rocks. There's just a bunch of people up there, and I want to respect their privacy. So during the Battle of Gettysburg, this giant pile of boulders became one of the most violent places on the battlefield. So if you ever talk to any paranormal investigators, they're always gonna be like, oh, Devil's Den, Devil's Den. Yes, Devil's Den is extremely haunted, and I had a crazy psychic vision here. Go back to my other video that I posted maybe about a month ago and check out that. It gets really weird here. For over 160 years, people have claimed this place never truly went quiet. Visitors report hearing gunfire when there's literally not even a reenactment happening, footsteps behind them when they're walking up the rocks, whispers coming from the rocks, even seeing figures in old Civil War uniforms who disappear seconds later. One of the most famous stories is about a mysterious barefoot man in ragged clothes, and he'll like point people in like different directions, and then he just vanishes. I've gotten so many stories and pictures of people seeing ghosts and having experiences here. So if you've had one, leave a comment down below. I want to know. Let's go tour it. It is still here. It's absolutely insane. This is absolutely insane. This is a photograph of Devil's Den and a soldier who had passed away, and this is the exact location.
Let's read a scary story. This one is submitted by a viewer named Lana. I will tag her below. Thank you for the story. Welcome to the Creepy Cozy Cottage, where creepy and cozy meet. So grab a blanket and get cozy, because it's creepy cozy time at the Creepy Cozy Cottage. I was probably around 12 to 13 when this happened to me and two of my friends. We used to go horseback riding on the weekdays after school and all day on the weekends, but we were allowed to stay at the yard later to play games in the field and woods behind the stable block. We had all decided to play manhunt, as at the time there were over 10 people, the oldest being 14. I had taken a break from the game as I needed to put my lone pony in her field. As I walked past the entrance to the field, I heard crunching, as if someone was walking on the stones into the field behind me. A bit of context, the driveway down the yard was all stone and gravel, and as you went through the archway of the yard, it was concrete. I was already on the concrete, and as I turned around thinking one of the others had followed me, the footsteps stopped. I thought nothing of it and carried on after putting the pony out. I went back to join the game of manhunt, but by this time it was probably 7 p.m. and quite a few people left. I decided to hide in the woods, thinking no one would find me there. Another one of my best friends joined me. As we went to find a hiding spot, we found an old caravan that was essentially grown into the floor, so we decided to hide in there. We had been waiting for around 10 minutes when we heard footsteps outside circling the caravan, tapping on different parts of the van. but they weren't in order, and no one could move that fast around the van to be able to tap where it was. As soon as the tapping stopped, we ran for it, straight out of the woods, through the field, and into the stable block. We hid in there for a few minutes before our other friends came back, just as scared as we were. There were now 4 of us left, and they said they saw us running through the open field back to the yard with something on all 4s chasing behind. But as soon as we jumped the gate to the yard, it disappeared. Too scared to move, we stayed in the yard and called our parents to come get us. As we waited, my close friend who had run through the field with me had gone to get her bag. As she was gone, we heard the footsteps again, and a very light whistle tune none of us heard before. Someone said, "It's gone now, you can come out." It was in my friend's voice. As we looked over the stable door, no one was there. We walked out anyway, thinking she had just gone into one of the rooms next to the stables. After not finding her in any of the stables, we had noticed there were scratch marks as big as an adult's finger deep into the stable door, the door closest to the gravel driveway. We called her phone and she said that she had went to get her bag. Her mom had pulled up and she had gone home, not back into the yard. Shortly after, another friend's mom came and offered to take all of us home. As we were getting into the car, we looked down the driveway to the office next to the stables, and through the window of the office stood a very tall man. He had a light which was enough to be able to see his very bony figure and a face with no features. It was private property and no one was there as we walked down the driveway. A week later, we went back to see if the caravan was still there, out of childish curiosity and a slight fear that something was out there. But as we approached where it was, there was nothing, not even a mark where the wheels had sunken into the soil. But we all remembered it so vividly. Let me know what you think, and if you have any scary stories of your own you'd like to read, just send me a DM.
She just walked out of her house and vanished. Nobody has ever seen her again. What happened to Layla Faulkner? Layla Marie Faulkner was 29 years old and living in Troy, Alabama at the time of her disappearance. She was a very smart and outgoing girl and even was valedictorian of her high school class. After graduating, she would move to Montgomery, Alabama to start college, but then ended up getting pregnant with her daughter. Now, her and her daughter's father did not end up staying together, and she would actually put college on hold to move in with her parents, Susan and Richard, who after she had her daughter, she would just sign over custody to them. Then sometime after having her daughter, she would end up meeting a guy named Blaine Grallhere Jr., and 2 months later, they would move in together. 6 days before going missing, Layla will text her mother that she is scared of Blaine, and if something happens to her, to call authorities. Now, her mother, Susan, has done interviews since and has said that they had a very volatile relationship, and it was really hard to get Layla out of that relationship. But on July 2nd, 2016, her and Blaine do break up, and she moves back in with her parents and her daughter. Susan and one of the investigators have since done interviews, and they have both said that Layla was potentially pregnant with another man's baby, so maybe this was why they broke up. On July 4th, 2016, Susan and Richard are getting Layla's daughter ready to go to a 4th of July barbecue. Layla is not planning to go with them, but they will hear her walk out the front door at about 7 p.m. Now, her car remained at the house, so somebody either picked her up or she walked, but their house was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so if she was walking somewhere, it would be miles before she got to where she was going. But after this, she will make her final Facebook post, and Layla is somebody who is chronically online, so her not posting on social media is concerning in itself. But her post says, "Just wanted to give a shout out to all those that care. Blaine Grallhere Jr., thank you for showing me that a woman can still have an ass like mine and still be left for a man. To the family that helps me so much, thank you for giving me a place to rest my head for the night after being given 2 days to pack my stuff from a house, wait for it, that I've been paying half the bills on. Yes, sir, Tahoe included. Think I am lying. Check the bank records on the withdrawals he debited from my account. We all know I get a crazy check. Thank you for letting me know in detail that y'all understand why he didn't want me, that y'all don't either. You don't have to take any effort. Throw me my stuff down by the bridge. I threw my stuff myself. To all my enemies, the ones that were supposed to be against me, thank you for giving me renewed sense that there is still some hope in the world. Thank you for showing me compassion where the ones that love didn't." She also posted this 3 separate times, but the first 2 were only like a sentence or 2 of it, and then she posted the full one the 3rd time. So there's a lot to unpack here. Sounds like her and Blaine potentially broke up because he left her for a man, but I also don't know if she's just like rage baiting the situation a little bit. But then there's the part about her parents, about letting her know, like, I understand why he didn't want me, that they didn't either, and basically telling her to move out. That's interesting because Susan and Richard have never talked about that. I wonder if there was maybe an argument beforehand or something, but they don't want to mention that just in case the investigation turns toward them and they don't want it to be that way. It's definitely an interesting Facebook post because it feels like we're missing some details here. Her parents were a bit worried when she didn't come back in the morning, but Layla was also somebody that was known for being gone for a day or two at a time and not telling anybody anything. But when July 7th comes around, they are very concerned. They haven't heard from her, so they go to the Pike County Sheriff's Office to report her missing, and they say no. They tell them that she had, went missing a year before for a long period of time and ended up coming back. So maybe they should just reach out to her friends, see what they know or if they know where she's at. On top of that, Susan has done interviews and very briefly has mentioned that Layla was using illicit substances. She doesn't give much of the background on this or what she was using. But if law enforcement knew this, I wonder if it just made them not take it as seriously because unfortunately we know law enforcement really doesn't take cases seriously with people that use substances. It just happens all too often that they don't take it seriously. So her family starts reaching out to her friends to see if anybody knows anything. Nobody has seen her. Nobody knows where she's at. They also make a Facebook page to see if they can get tips themselves searching for her. And they do get one tip saying that Layla was at a party in Spring Hill, but they've never been able to verify if she was actually at this party. It was one tip and just one person that has said this, so they're not sure if this was actually her or not. 2 weeks later, her parents return to the sheriff's department and they want to file a missing persons report this time. So they do this, and her ex-boyfriend Blaine is interviewed and he takes a polygraph test, which comes back inconclusive. So they ask, hey, do you want to take another one with a different polygraph person? And he declines. In 2018, Susan was able to get 4 billboards put up with Layla's picture on it and then a phone number to call with any information or tips. But then, a short time afterwards, they find 2 butcher knives in the one. And Susan and Richard felt like this was a threat, while law enforcement felt like it was completely unrelated. Then in a turn of events, on December 29th, 2024, her father, Richard Faulkner, is arrested on 2 counts of SA, and the victim is a minor. This obviously doesn't mean that he did something to his daughter, but it's just interesting to note, I think. As of July 2026, Layla remains missing, and her purse, cell phone, and tablet are also missing, and they've never put out there if they have been able to ping her phone or not. I would assume if they were able to ping it, they would put that out there that that was her last location, but they haven't talked about it, so I'm assuming they weren't able to get it to ping. But if you or anybody you know has any information, you can contact the Pike County Sheriff's Office at 334-566-4347. There is a $10,000 reward for any information leading to Layla. Thank you for listening to Layla's story. Be sure to follow for more true crime, and if you have any case recommendations, feel free to comment, directly message me, or fill out the Suggest a Case form in my link tree in my bio.
This first video that I'm gonna show you is absolutely iconic in the Mexican community. You might even already know which one I'm gonna show you before I even start describing it. In this video, we see a young girl holding up her quinceañera doll, and all she's doing is presenting the doll to the camera when all of a sudden we see this.
Bueno, aquí les presentamos a la muñeca de Betty que se la regalaron a sus 15 años. No manches, mira.
This is one of the very first horror videos that I remember ever watching on YouTube. And when we take into consideration the year that this video came out, which was 2007 or 2008, it kind of makes the video seem more genuinely paranormal than anything else. This next video was taken in Chihuahua, Mexico. And like the first one, this one is also very iconic and very well known. It's a video of La Pascualita, a very famous mannequin in Mexico. This mannequin is located in the front window of a bridal shop, and the popular theory around this mannequin is that it is actually an embalmed body, belonging to the daughter of the people who own the bridal shop. The story goes that on the day of her wedding, their daughter was actually bitten by a scorpion and passed away, and her parents, being completely unable to let her go, had her body embalmed and they put her in the front window of their shop. Now people that go to see her claim that she doesn't look like an average mannequin and instead has real eyebrows and real eyelashes and nails and veins in her hands. But what makes the whole thing even creepier is that people have even seen her moving and blinking, and some have even caught it on camera. So what do you think? Is it just a super detailed mannequin, or is it really the embalmed body of the shop owner's daughter?
I'm going to give you guys a little context of what it is you're about to see. Also, everything you're going to see in this video happened while I was live streaming. This happened in real time. Also, this is captured footage from my followers, not me. Because at the time that this happened, at least in the first clip, I wasn't there. I went back into the house and I left my phone in the shed live streaming. So everyone there that was watching saw this happen in real time. I did not find out about it until after I came back and they informed me. The second clip you're gonna see happened while I was there and I didn't even know it. I'm still processing all of this. So, you know. Enjoy, I guess. Okay, y'all see Pixie over there? All right, how we feeling? We good? Yes? We good? Yes? We good? Yes? All right, cool. I'm out.
Throughout history, cats have always been seen as something more than simple house pets. In ancient Egypt, they were guardians of the home and protectors against unseen forces. Witches have been known to keep black cats as familiars, and even today in modern paranormal accounts, cats are often the first to react to the things that humans can't see. Some people say that cats don't just occupy a home, they hold it. Today's Spooky Scary Storytime is a little bit different because I've actually partnered with Heretic Perfume, which is one of my favorite fragrance houses. They're doing a really cool summer spectral radio series in partnership with Chelsea Wolfe for their new Ghost collection. Each week, different hosts are reading a listener-submitted spectral story, real accounts that sit somewhere between memory and perception and something harder to define. And this week, I'm hosting, and I was able to select my favorite listener-submitted story. The winner is receiving a full Ghost collection set, which is a 5-piece fragrance set inspired by supernatural experiences. This week's winner is Emma Fox, and without much further ado, we'll get to her story. Emma says her paranormal experiences started in her early 20s. She noticed shadow figures always at the edge of her vision. Always peripheral, never direct. If she turned to face them, they would disappear. At first, she tried to rationalize it because she says she is a logical thinker and needed to fit her experience into a box. It was always small shadow figures, low to the ground, less like some unseen spirit and more animal-like. And that detail stayed with her because she grew up around animals and was familiar with how they moved. There's a weight to it, a rhythm, a presence that doesn't just appear in a room but occupies a space. These shadow figures felt like that, except she didn't have any pets at the time. But still, she would hear them, almost almost as if it was a pressure change in the air. There was a subtle shift behind her ear, like the moment before a sound arrives, but every time she turned her head, there was nothing there. And this went on for about a year, and then she and her husband moved into her parents' old house, which was a large, older house. It was 2 stories with a beautiful garden. It had stone walls and dark wood floors, and it was a place layered with history. And it was also where a lot of her childhood pets had both lived and died. And that's where everything changed. And at first it was subtle. Not only did she see shadow figures out of her peripheral vision, but now she noticed movement in the corner of rooms and small figures passing across doorways. She heard the sound of soft paws in the hallways when everything else was still. And it became such a common occurrence that she began to greet them. Without thinking, she would say hello to a cat that she thought she saw sitting by the stairs or by the back door. It was a knee-jerk reaction. She would say hi, but then she would pause and realize that there was no cat. And she realized she was greeting the idea of one, but it didn't feel scary to her. It felt familiar. Like the house was remembering itself through the spirits of these cats. But then something shifted again. She began waking up and feeling like something was watching her from the edge of her bed. And this was something larger and something unfamiliar. And whatever this was scared her. And she never opened her eyes, but she could feel it moving, the air tightening around it and the space changing. And she knew that whatever this was not a cat. It was not friendly. And then her husband began having vivid dreams. Some were nightmares, but in one dream he woke up frantic and he said that something had told him in his dream that they urgently needed to rehang a painting that they had removed from one of the living room walls. He said it wasn't a dream, it was a warning, and they demanded that we hang this painting up immediately. And when he told Emma this, she said she had a feeling of recognition because she had noticed that there was a strange feeling in that part of the house too. She had never attributed it to the painting, but she knew that whenever she walked past that particular spot on the wall, something felt off. And they hadn't planned to keep the painting anyway. It was just something that was left behind from her parents as part of the house's inherited history. But her husband was so shaken up by his dream that he insisted they hang it. And so they did, and the energy in the house shifted once again. The feeling of another presence stopped, and there was no more waking up in the middle of the night to feeling like the energy had shifted in the room and like they were being watched. There was no more feeling of the pressure changes in the air, and whatever this was didn't stop arriving in a dramatic way. It just simply disappeared when they hung the painting back up. But with it, the movement of the small animal-like shadows disappeared as well. There was no more movement at the edge of her vision at all. And later she would ask her mom if her mom had ever experienced anything creepy or unexplained while living in the house. She thought for a minute and said, yeah, actually, once by the fireplace in the living room, there was a toy that was singing and moving on its own, but when I checked it, the batteries had been removed. And Emma says she doesn't have an explanation for any of this. She still does not know what occupied her home. She still argues both sides of it, both the skeptic and the believer in the unseen. But what she can't explain is the pattern, because the only moments that she felt something close to comfort were the moments that she felt like she was seeing the spirits of cats. And now she wonders if she understood it backwards, if maybe something was already in the house and the cats weren't part of the haunting at all. Maybe the cats were what was protecting her from whatever it was. Because when the painting finally went back on the wall, whatever tension had been building in the house finally broke, and she can't help but wonder, had the cats been holding whatever this was back from becoming something worse long before she even realized that something was wrong? Let us know your thoughts, and Heretic will actually be posting more stories like this if you enjoyed this one on their own channels, so go check them out as well.
A viewer named Soren emailed me this story, and if he's telling me the truth, honestly, I don't even know how to explain this one. So Soren has been a wedding photographer for almost 20 years, and he told me that he's photographed hundreds of weddings over his career. And one thing that he always does before meeting a new couple is he looks through old family albums. And he says it kind of helps him recreate meaningful poses and match family traditions. And most of the time, it's just a nice conversation starter. But one wedding changed everything. So the wedding took place at an old family estate in Virginia, and a few weeks before the ceremony, the bride and the groom invited Soren over to look through generations of family wedding photographs, and they had albums dating all the way back to like the 1940s, Soren said. And as he flipped through the first album, nothing seemed unusual or out of the ordinary until one picture caught his attention and made him stop dead in his tracks. Standing several rows behind the bride and the groom was a tall man dressed completely in a black tailored suit. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't talking to anyone, he was simply just staring directly into the camera. Soren joked to the bride, like, who's the serious guy in the back? And the bride just shrugged, and she's like, I really have no idea, but my grandmother always said that he was just some distant family friend, and he was kind of always around. So they kept turning the pages, and they come to another wedding, and another decade, And there he was again, same black suit, same stoic and calm expression, not any older, not any younger, just exactly the same in every single picture. And at first, Soren assumed maybe it was the man's son or grandson and they all just looked alike, someone who just happened to resemble him. And then they reached photographs from the 1970s and he was still there. The 1980s, there again. And we get to the 90s and this man is still there, the exact same man looking the exact same way. By now, Soren wasn't really joking anymore and he laid the album, side by side to compare, and nearly 80 years of weddings, this same man is appearing in every single one of these photographs. And always somewhere in the background, right? Never standing with the family or with the, with the party, never smiling. He's always just there. And the bride noticed Soren had, kind of got a little serious and quiet because, this is definitely, makes you think a little bit. She admitted something that she never really thought about until that moment, and her grandmother refused to really speak about that man. And whenever anybody had asked, who he was, and the grandmother would just simply say, if he comes to the wedding, let him stay. Nothing more, no explanation given, just those words. And the wedding day had finally arrived, and Soren spent hours photographing the guest, and he kept secretly scanning the faces, looking for the mysterious man. He was kind of hoping he was going to see him, but there was nothing. The man wasn't in anywhere. He wasn't appearing anywhere. He was not there. And eventually the ceremony ended and everyone was celebrating, and Soren headed home to edit thousands of photographs. Now, around 2 a.m. the following day, he was reviewing the reception pictures when he froze. Near the back of the dance floor, partially hidden behind a stone column, was the man. The same black suit, same face, same expression from every photograph dating back almost 80 years. The strange part is Soren swears that he never saw him once during the entire wedding. He was actively looking for him. Not while he was taking pictures, not during the dinner, not even while packing up his cameras and getting ready to go home. He immediately called the bride and he told her, look.
So listen to me.
This man is here. I'm looking at his picture right now. She became silent and then she asked him to kind of zoom in on it. And as he enlarged the image, they noticed something neither of them had seen before. Every guest around him was laughing and dancing or eating, but they were blurred out from movement. But the man was perfectly sharp, and as if time itself hadn't moved around him. Soren asked her if she wanted him to edit the man out before delivering, the gallery to her, and she answered almost immediately. She's like, no. Leave him exactly where he is. When Soren had asked her why, she told him something that her grandmother had told her years before, but didn't really dawn on her. And she said, he's been coming to our family's weddings longer than anyone can remember and longer than a lot of us have been alive. And according to my grandmother, everyone that he watches stays together for life and they have a very happy and healthy life together. Soren says he delivered the photos exactly as they were and he never heard from that family again. But ever since then, whenever he's photographing a wedding, the very first thing that he does is look through the old family's albums just to make sure that the man isn't already waiting for them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
I want to hear your crazy stories, your crazy paranormal stories. I'm the weird person. Ever since I was a kid, people think I'm weird because I have these experiences happen to me. And to be honest, I just think they're weird. But I know I'm not the only person, so I'm just kind of bored. You should spam me with all your craziest stories and your creepy ghost stories, crazy paranormal stories. I have one where my daughter and I, well, this is kind of weird, but we did a past life thing together once, and I didn't explain to her about holding intentions first. So when she, we opened up a portal, except I didn't tell her to hold the intention. I was holding the intention, but she was not.
So something not good came through. And as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh my God, crap. I did not even think about this. And it literally, whatever came through, threw a freaking bucket of coins at my head in the kitchen. And I was just like so scared. I had to call my friend. I'm like, help me. I can't get this thing out of my house. We did get it taken care of, but like it was so crazy. And I'm like, literally, you saw that bucket of coins fly at my head, right?